Well, it's one of the greatest Pixar movies of all time, and one that makes my car cult list. Cars brought everything into the limelight, but really, Cars did a lot more than you really think. You think it's just a kid's movie that showcases a world that's just run by living vehicles, but it did so much more for the world and did so much more for a generation of children than you might think. Today, AutoLooks is going to take a look at how the Cars franchise changed the automotive history of the future. Welcome back to the AutoLooks podcast. I'm your host, as always, the doctor to the automotive industry, Mr. Everett J, coming to you from our main host website at AutoLooks.net. If you haven't been there, stop by, check it out. Read some of the ratings, check out some of the reviews, go to the Corporate Links website page, and find car companies from around the globe, big or small. We have them all on the AutoLooks.net website. The AutoLooks podcast is brought to you by Ecom Entertainment Group and distributed by Podbeam.com. If you'd like to get in touch with us, send us an email over at email@AutoLooks.net. So like I said in the beginning, the Cars effect. Pixar did an amazing job bringing to life a world run by automobiles, like cars, an entire world where vehicles are the living, breathing embodiment of that society. Even the animals are automobiles. The bugs are automobiles. Everything centers around an automotive theme. But how does that change the world, and how did that inspire a new generation of automotive enthusiasts? Well, that's one of those things that AutoLooks likes to talk about. Coming out in 2006, the Cars movie was inspired essentially by a road trip. John Lasseter had been hard at work making Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Monsters, Inc., even Finding Nemo. But he needed some time away. So he packed up his family in their RV and took a trip across the Great American Highway, Route 66, stopping to see things along the way. With that, he was inspired about all the automobiles and all the people that he met along the way. And how one fan at a stock car track inspired one of the characters for the Cars movie. But why would you want to make a movie that centers all around just automobiles? Well, it's 2006. The automobile is still a big part of the global climate. Our entire world revolves around them. Everything we do, from going to work, getting to school, hell, even being transported around the world, has automobiles someplace in it. In a world of today, that's becoming a little less common, but they're still here and we still see them. In 2006, you gotta remember the 90s was less than a decade behind us. The biggest part of automotive culture was still going. And movies like Fast and the Furious and The Transporter were showcasing a new automotive interest for the future. His inspiration for the Cars movie was the Great Mother Road. Route 66, one of the original highways that crossed from New York to Los Angeles. He took that route and saw a lot of great things and came back and started writing. His inspiration was from the world around him. All the automobiles he saw, all the automobile industries, the garages, the car wash, the fuel stations, parking lots, the big interstate system that was built in the 1950s in the United States to make it more easily accessible to get across the country from place to place to place. How the entire American economy centered around the automobile ever since Henry Ford brought the moving assembly line into the automobile industry in a big way. By putting the Model T out there, he put the world on wheels, essentially put America on wheels. And cars were it. And the interstates became it. But he saw the difference of how we used to just go for these drives across the country and take our time and stop and see all of these amazing things. The world was a lot slower then than it is now. So it inspired him to make this movie. A movie where automobiles are the living creatures in it. A new imagination. Sure, they'd done a movie about monsters in your closet and talking fish, but not one so amazing that it showcased an entire world run by automobiles. Essentially what our world is. And by showcasing all of those things, the interstate systems, the back roads, how big transports, tractors, everything plays a pivotal part of our economy. And cars make it all happen. Cars were it. But the movie didn't just showcase the world around us. It didn't showcase how the automobile is a bigger part of society than what people really give it credit for. This movie showcased that cars essentially are everywhere and everything. Volkswagen Beetle is a bug? Well, it is a bug, so it's a bug. Bulldozers, that's bulls. Tractors, essentially as cows. They built an entire world from the automobile marketplace. Hell, they tried it again with planes, and they originally had the concept of doing a trains movie, but with planes flopping as hard as it did, they never really pushed through to make that one. But cars did so much more for the automotive interests of young minds. Merchandising became a big thing with the Cars franchise. And die-cast cars were already a huge thing with Hot Wheels and Matchbox, but new kids were getting into the automotive industry through the Cars movie. Because how many kids out there that were never interested in cars? I'm a dedicated, well, in my country, let's just say I'm a dedicated hockey family. We like hockey. We only do hockey. It's hockey. And you fall in love with the Cars movie. Well, let's just say Mater is your favorite character. You want to get Mater. You want to bring him home with you. Well, Mater is a vehicle. Now you can play with Mater as a car. And from there, you start realizing there's a whole nother world out there that you've just been exposed to. Your whole life centered around strapping on skates and going out in the ice. But you just fell in love with Lightning McQueen and Mater. You fell in love with cars. You want to see more of this world. And the Cars movie showcases nearly every part of it. From the aftermarket industry to muscle cars, to repairs, to parts, to roadways, expressways, how cities operate, sports leagues, racing circuits, agriculture, mining, shipping, everything revolves around the automobiles. And as you start buying more and more of the merchandise and getting more and more of these cars, you start to realize that cars are more commonplace and a bigger part of your life. And this movie is showcasing to you all of the great things with this industry. It's bringing brand new brands into your life. You didn't realize that Tex was a Cadillac. It's bringing new people's names into your life. You didn't realize that Daryl Cartrip was Daryl Waltrip, a previous stock car racer, now host of the NASCAR channel. And what is he? He's an old Cutlass. All of these people and all of these cars. You start to realize that there's a lot of cars in the movie that you're seeing out in the wild. This is showcased heavily. I remember my nephew grew up in a family that's, dedicated hockey, football, and that's it. Cars were just a mode of transportation. That is all their purpose is for. But when he was young, he saw the Transformer movie, and every yellow Camaro he ever saw was Bumblebee, because Bumblebee was his favorite character. A red transport on the road? Is that Optimus Prime? It inspired him. Seeing an old Monte Carlo or Oldsmobile Cutlass, hell, even a Buick GNX or Grand National, you see Chick Hicks. You start associating the characters from your movie into the real life vehicles. Every Mack truck is Mack. Every Cutlass and Monte Carlo from the 80s is Chick Hicks. Every old Cadillac is Tex. You start to notice vehicles out in the wild. You never saw them before, but now you're seeing them. And now you understand that cars are everywhere. And you're getting more interested in these vehicles. It's not a renewed interest. It's a new interest. All thanks to a movie that you fell in love with. And you bought merchandise. It's bringing a brand new generation of kids into the diecast marketplace, where they first were given a Lightning McQueen for Christmas. They now want to collect all of them. And then they go to collect them and realize there's Hot Wheels and Matchbox right there too. And they realize some of those cars being sold by Hot Wheels look like they're cars from the Cars movie. So then they start buying the Hot Wheels one. And they move on from there. And then they start building models and model kits. Then they start collecting bigger Burago cars. It creates a cycle and opens an industry, brings a new marketplace to the automotive world. These kids see these and they want to be part of it. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or what your background is. You saw the movie and you fell in love with it. You want to own all the toys. You want to own all the sets, and you want to become part of the Cars world. Well, that's a great point for Disney. They're going to make tons of money off merchandising this thing, right? But the movie goes for so long before its second part comes out. And it's only because people are buying into the industry. They're watching the movie. They're starting to get interested in what Lightning McQueen does. NASCAR had a brand new generation of fans born when the Cars movie came out. Consider the fact that NASCAR is a pivotal point of that movie. It's what the whole thing centers around. Funny thing is, there's an old movie called Doc Hollywood with Michael J. Fox from the early 90s that has the exact same storyline as Cars. He's leaving Los Angeles and on his way to the big city become a plastic surgeon. And his Porsche, he gets run off the road, crashes his car, needs to get it fixed, and he gets stuck in this tiny little hick town in the middle of nowhere. But but he's a plastic surgeon. He went through to get his doctorate, but, he wants to do plastic surgery. That's all he wants to do. He's this big hotshot guy from Hollywood, and he falls in love with the town, and he falls in love with a woman that's there as well. But when his car is finished at the end of the movie, he doesn't leave. It's the exact same storyline as Cars. It's been done a million times, but it works so well in that instance because they managed to showcase everything to it. The beginning of the race showcases NASCAR and the biggest world of the automobile industry, racing. Racing was pioneered by the automobile industry, but it was pioneered by the automobile industry to showcase the technology that the automobile industry was building and creating. They want to showcase to the world that their vehicles are faster than the competition, their vehicles are better than the competition, their vehicles last longer than the competition, so they start racing them. And these people that are buying into the merchandise are starting to realize that the sticker names on the side of it are similar to real life products out there. They start learning about NASCAR, World Rally Championship, F1, Touring Car, Le Mans, British Touring Car circuits, all because of these movies. NASCAR was the main focus of the first movie. And after he leaves his NASCAR track, they showcase the big trucks that bring them across the interstate system from place to place. But what makes Lightning McQueen wind up in that town? Why does he wind up in Radiator Springs? It's all because of DJ, an aftermarket tuner car that plays a sleepy tune that knocks lightning out of his transport. Showcasing the aftermarket industry in both customization, performance products, and a muscle car with the snot rod. The aftermarket industry is brought to life. So these kids that are buying the merchandise are not only buying race car merchandise, they're buying aftermarket industry merchandise. They're buying standardized products. They're buying work vehicles and construction equipment. Every single part of the automobile industry is being exposed to them. It's bringing them in and showing them the big world that encompasses the automobile. Everybody just sees their car in their driveway as a car to get from point A to point B, but they don't realize that vehicle in their driveway is a bigger part of their entire world and their life than anything else. You will spend more time in an automobile than you will with your spouse. No matter how young you get married, you'll spend more time inside of an automobile than you will with a spouse. Is that kind of funny? You think you spend all this time, but you got to remember, you spend 30 years working. You spend all those years in school, and even when you're retired, you still have to drive places. You spend all of this time in an automobile. And what brings you automobiles are other automobiles. What fixes automobiles are other automobiles. The world that John Lasseter created through Cars was the world around us. And as these children are getting into this, they're starting to get interested into all the different variations of the automotive world. Racing becomes a bigger thing. And when Cars 2 came out, more of the racing world was put in front of them. Sure, amazing gadgets in the James Bond series was really brought to life in Cars 2. Even though Cars 2 wasn't that great of a movie, the story behind it fit with the James Bond theme, bringing a new generation into the James Bond franchise, all thanks to the Cars movie. But along with that, stock car was showcased with Lightning McQueen, touring car, Le Mans, Formula One, and even rally racing. All of those cars racing in the World Rally Race. It was cars from every racing circuit, all racing together in these amazing places. Japan, Italy, and Great Britain, some of the biggest places in the world for racing, next to Germany and the United States, and they showcased those to the world. They showcased their culture. They showcased their automotive culture to it. And from there, cars built even more. They not only boosted the diecast industry, they boosted the James Bond franchise, they boosted the fan base for racing circuits, but they also brought the automotive world to front and center of so many people that were unaware of what it was. It showed you how racing worked with pit stops, crew chief, and everyone else that goes into it. It taught you about sponsorship deals with Rusty's medicated bumper ointment and the Dynaco. It made you understand that if you want to be a big major player in the sports industry, it doesn't matter where you are, sponsorship deals can make or break you. Lightning thought the world's greatest sponsorship would make him the best driver and the most important driver in the entire world, when really it was his sheer talent that made him who he was, and that's why he stuck it out with Rusty's. It brought politics of the automotive industry and politics of the racing industry to the limelight as well. Cars 2 really showcased that, with the lemons trying to take over the world. They saw how big they were and how powerful a massive group of people together can be. It shows what happens when we all get together. It shows the fights among sports stars. Lightning and Francisco Bernoulli fight it out. There's a major rivalry there that exists in any sports. So these people start to associate not just with the automotive theme, but with other parts of their life. The Cars movie is showcasing so much information to all of it. And when Cars went from Cars 2 to their next variation, the Cars series in Mater's Tall Tales, they started showcasing even more of the automotive industry. Monster trucks, music, drifting, Japanese aftermarket tuners, classic industries. They brought more and more of this industry front and center. You didn't have to love Cars to love the show. You just had to love the characters. And Mater was a character that everybody fell in love with. Mater is actually based off of a character, not a character, but an actual person who's a big NASCAR fan. They met him at a NASCAR track in the States. And his mentality and how he talked was very similar to that of Mater. Now, Larry the Cable Guy just goes all out and creates Mater as Mater based off of the character that he was given. But even though Mater is a created character that was brought to life through an amazing comic, he adds a factor to the automotive industry that we all forget about. Mater is an old vehicle who has lots of dents, dings, and rust. He's missing parts. He showcases the downfall of the automotive industry and how things will go into disrepair if not maintained properly, and how the course of time can be mean towards it. And as we all age and grow into the future, we become similar to Mater. We get a new look on life, even though it seems like our body is falling apart. Mater showcases to us not only the automotive aspect of him falling into disrepair, but showcasing to us that life is not perfect or great for everybody out there. It showcases that there are fun characters that, even though they may not look the best part, can still be the best part of our lives. Mater is it. And the greatest thing about him, he's the most helpful automobile out there. He's a tow truck. How many kids out there, after seeing that movie, see a tow truck and go, oh, there's Mater. Oh, there's Mater. How many people out there have you seen that have beat up old tow trucks or anything in their front yards, that have put giant eyes in the windshield? Hell, on my way to camp, there is a hotel on the side of the road that actually has an old panel van out front with giant eyes on it. It's an old decrepit van, but they made it look like a real-life car. People dress these things up, and they showcase to us that they could be living, breathing things. They showcase to us that automobiles are a bigger part of our life than you really take consideration for. They may not be here as long as everything else. Hell, some people only own cars a lot less than they even have goldfish kicking around. Only a couple years. But it's a part of your life. And the people who watch this movie, inclusive the kids that have watched these Cars movies, have started to realize that they are a bigger part of our life. Cars are the biggest part of it. And we could grow attached to the vehicle we own. And we could come to love the vehicle we own. Doesn't matter what they look like and how they handle. They could be a lemon and we could still love them. They could be rusty and we could still take care of them with Rusty's medicated bumper ointment. Every aspect of the automotive industry is showcased to us. And when the third movie finally came out, it gave us our conclusion of the automotive industry. It gave us that backwoods dirt track where we all get our start. It showed us what they showed in the first movie when Doc had his crash. It shows that eventually everybody will run out of steam and somebody may be better and faster than you. And you could try as hard as you want and you may not be able to beat them. But in all reality, there is always a way to win the day. Lightning may not have been able to beat Jackson Storm, but Cruz Ramirez was able to. And as Lightning learned from Smokey by going back to the past, to where stock cars began and racing began, it shed light on where we all came from. And kids that grew up watching the original Cars movie and then got into Cars 2 were now being showcased that we need to keep our past alive and we need to remember the great things about it. Not all of them were great. Moonshine running is essentially how NASCAR got started. Racing on a beach were a lot of the early tracks. Small, tiny little dirt courses in the middle of the Red Hills existed at the beginning of it. We may have these big, extravagant racetracks now, but originally we all came from something smaller. Cars not only brings the automotive world to the front and center about children and adults, but it essentially shows us our graduation through life and what we need to remember and what we need to see in life. It inspires us to become part of the automotive industry, and it showcases to us all of the different parts of the industry. Whether it be a dirt track with crash-up derby or a billion-dollar racetrack with massive stands and super fast cars, all of it intertwines together to create something amazing. And in the world of cars, they all work together. And that's the main concept of the movie Cars. It showcases the entire automotive industry to everyone, every aspect of the automotive industry. Well, I shouldn't say that. There is one aspect that was never showcased. I guess you could say Ramon does showcase the artistic concept of it with all of his cool paint jobs, but there is still an artistic concept that was not brought to light in the design aspect of the Cars movies. Supercars, sports cars, and all of that was never really pushed. It was all just the life of cars. There is still a little bit more that the Cars series can bring to the automotive world. Showcasing more of the different segments of the automobile industry can be something that a Cars 4 movie could help create to showcase that there are many different variations of the automobile industry, like there are many different variations of human beings on this planet. We all live together and we can all harmonize together, just like the world of Cars. A lot of people just see it as a kid's movie that centers around the automobile. And people that have that mentality that it's just a stupid movie about cars and cars are stupid has a very skewed mind where they're unable to open up the back of their brain and really see it for what it really is. The Cars movie is more than just a movie about cars. And it brought more of us into the automotive industry. It showcased to us the world around us. And it showcased how we want to see the world. We need to slow down and really take it all in, because no matter how beautiful or ugly things may seem, inside, they're all amazing products. Cars. It was a great movie, and it inspired a whole new generation of automotive enthusiasts looking to get into either the aftermarket industry, racing, muscle cars, or hell, even trying to rejuvenate old school road trips on classic highways. The Cars movie made an effect on everyone, and even people who still don't like cars to this day can watch the movie and understand the story behind it and see things that are showcased in the movie in the real world. Cars. It's not just a kid's movie, it's an automotive movie. So if you like our podcast, please like, share, or comment on any of the major social feeds or streaming sites that you have found us on, and click the like button at the bottom so you can learn more about the AutoLooks website, the AutoLooks podcast, and Ecom Entertainment Group, what we are bringing out to the automotive world, and some more amazing stories from the automotive world that you may not have even thought about, all from the AutoLooks.net website and AutoLooks podcast. So click the like button at the bottom, like us, share us, comment about us, and send us to all your friends, your family, and all those people on the other side of the cubicles. Ask them what their favorite part about the Cars movie and what their favorite character in the Cars movie might be. Let us know in the comments below. And after that, stop by the website, read some of the reviews, check out some of the ratings, and go to the Corporate Links website page, or find some amazing information on our help pages. We can help you buy that new automobile, all on the AutoLooks.net website. Check out car complaints for major issues with purchasing a new vehicle. And if you're wondering a little bit more information, check out Edmunds.com. We got links to all of these websites on the AutoLooks.net website help pages. Just stop by, take a click, read some of the information, and click the links. And after that, just remember, like us, follow us, and sign up for our newsletter. All from the AutoLooks.net website and the AutoLooks podcast. The AutoLooks podcast is brought to you by Ecom Entertainment Group and distributed by Podbeam.com. If you'd like to get in touch with the host or Ecom Entertainment Group, send an email over to email@autolooks.net. The AutoLooks podcast is hosted by the one and only doctor to the automotive industry, Mr. Everett J., who is also the producer, the sound producer, and the executive of the Ecom Entertainment Group. So, for myself, Everett J., the Ecom Entertainment Group, and the AutoLooks.net website, strap yourself in for this one fun, wild ride that Pixar is going to take us on.